John, welcome.
Hi, everybody. Sorry,
Okay.
late.
All right, John.
Okay, we are convening this meeting of the Expenses and Revenues Town Subcommittee. Excuse me. And we have an agenda in front of us, excuse me, that calls for us to discuss a few important documents. Before we get to that, I'm hoping that people feel prepared to vote approval of the minutes for February 24th. If anyone is not ready and wishes to defer that, just say so right now. Okay, I'm going to take that as consent. I'll move it. Move that we approve the minutes as attached to the agenda for this meeting, the minutes of our February 24th meeting. And
Second.
all those, second, all those in favor, Janet,
Aye.
and John,
Hi.
and it's just the three of us, right? We haven't seen Ruth Ellen yet, or Jesse. Okay.
Yeah, Jesse said he wasn't able to come today, so.
Yes. Yes. Boy, we have a lot of staff for not many people in this committee, and I apologize to staff. I hope all of you will find this to be a useful expenditure of your time. So I vote aye. That's unanimous that we approve the minutes of February 24th. All right, the other documents we have in front of us, and one of them I'm about to share for consideration by the committee, are the Janet's draft report on the work of this subcommittee as revised somewhat by John Doggett. So we'll get that in a second. Then there's this document, which is a sort of an omnibus resolution to essentially speak to the work that we have completed so far in terms of the report, but also speak to what I'm calling, for lack of a better word, a rubric for how you translate the findings of this committee into a number and a form of a override question. That's pretty much, the big business of this subcommittee. And I just want everyone to know that I'm well aware, I think the other members of this subcommittee are well aware that we are sort of working under a hoped for a deadline to be met by the committee as a whole for combining the town and school reports and issuing a report of the committee as a whole. And if, as a result of today's meeting, we take preliminary votes that are sufficient to forward our work to that committee without recognizing that those preliminary votes will allow for there to be further discussion of anything that we don't think is exactly the way we want it in our current draft report, and for that matter in the resolution that I have presented. I still feel we should forward our work at this point, as long as it is to our satisfaction, given that we are going to be discussing it further in the context of what we hear from the school committee, and also in recognition that staff has put in a lot of work on this, and there's an urgency here in terms of how much time we have and how many more meetings are going to be necessary to actually complete the job of the committee as a whole. So, having said that, Janet, I think you wanted to perhaps I think you do want to raise some questions about revisions John has made. Should we start with you or should we start with John?
Well, I mean, I don't care. The two things different from what I sent to the committee just to have something on paper to discuss. We've never discussed the roads, and I put in a milder version of what to do. John made we need to discuss that. And then the other thing that we haven't discussed, although I started to ask Chaz about it at our last meeting, is do we think it should be a lump sum, or do we think it should be spread out over 3 years? And, I don't know that there's any big controversy. It's just that we haven't reached a decision talking about it together. So those are the two things I'd like to focus on, unless John has any. I mean, I think he did a really good job. The executive summary is a good job. If we vote those things, then we can say to the larger group, this is, as a committee, what we think should go forward. But from the way that things have been presented at that larger group, I think if we don't vote that, Sadaf was looking for everything in executive summary, we can send them after whatever we agree on. John can paste his executive summary, make whatever adjustments for whatever our final decision is, and forward it to them. Whether they can talk about it tomorrow, since they're not going to get it until very, very late, is another matter. But so I would say, can we start with those? And Chaz is no longer here, but he said they had transportation information for us. This is before you came on, John, which would seem to be germane to that question.
Okay, yeah, just I'd like one comment, if I may, Janet, thank you. That we did discuss roads, and I think the upshot of the discussion, as I recall, again, going back on my memory, which isn't that great, was that we discussed it, but we were anticipating some kind of metric from Chaz, what the, to get a sense of where we are in the whole road situation, of expenditures, and in terms of quality issues, and what's to be done and what has been done, and so on and so forth, so that we can draw a clearer picture of that. So that being said, I think there were a couple of us were, though we didn't take a vote at that time, were certainly in favor of including the roads. How that is done, I've done it in a very sort of simple way. That is just to just take the DPW line item and change it from originally, I think it said sustainability, trees, protection, and there's one other item.
Horticulture.
Thank you.
Horticulture.
No, it wasn't horticulture. It was something else. Anyway, whatever it was, yeah. It's in the document, the red line document. So to make it simple, now we can do any combination. There's all kinds of, and then that's will be the outcome of our discussion today, perhaps. One other thing, I was just looking at it now in front of me. One thing that caught my eye again, every time I read this, something catches my eye. It says, bullet number 3, structural budget problem, right on the first page. It says, adjusting for inflation, the town's available budget has grown only 1.5% per year over 25 years. I think that really shortchanges the effect of inflation. I mean, I know that we can do nothing about inflation, but the taxpayer out there says, my budget, my taxes didn't increase 1.5% per annum. And if they did, God help us, that would be a great bargain. So I think it's misleading. We might want to say what inflation, I'm not sure. I think I just remove that. I think it's just misleading, but I think we can say what the budget was. And this comes back to, I think, way early on in our discussions in the full committee with Sergio Modigliani giving a impassioned argument that we should all be inflation adjusted, but we don't think in those terms, neither do the voters. And I think that to try and change the nature of the metric is just not a good idea. It's confusing because everyone says, well, 1.5%, boy, that's a bargain, but it can't be 1.5%. So my feeling is to take it out. It just caught my eye.
Yeah, I agree with you, John. I looked at it all the time. I think that Jesse inserted it at one point, and he and I didn't do anything with it. It was in the draft back and forth many times. And he may have gotten that from Sergio because Jesse made some early insertions based on recommendations or suggestions that he got from Sergio. So I agree with you. I always looked at it and said, I'm not sure what this is. But since I didn't put it in, I didn't feel I should take it out. We are now a majority. We can take it out. As to the roads, yeah, I didn't mean to say we didn't discuss it at all. I meant to say we didn't come to a conclusion on what to do about it. Chaz is back now. And just before you joined us, John, he said he had some of that data, which we didn't have. So maybe we should hear from him.
So,
I agree with that. If I'm sort of stepping in here just in my role as chair, I want to pause very briefly for two purposes. I want to recognize we have two members of the public here, John Golden and Perry Grossman. And Nicole, if it's not inconvenient, I did send out both the minutes and the resolution that I had proposed for discussion by this committee. Now I'm checking to make sure I sent that to you. Yes, I did.
They've been posted.
If we could in real time attach those two documents to this agenda.
They've already been, that's been done.
Oh, it's been done.
Yep.
So for our members of the public who are attending, if you hear us discussing any document that is part of our agenda, you can access those documents by going to the agenda. All right, Chad, please.
sure, thanks. So I spoke to Erin Shute, Commissioner of Public Works, yesterday. She is compiling some information for this committee, but one of the big flag that she had is you are going to see there isn't a good, she's struggling to find a metric that satisfies the committee's question, which is, we hear that more work is being done. How can we quantify the additional work that's being done? And what her take on it is because we have this new pavement management program, in addition to the Complete Streets program, we are doing a lot more work, but in terms of road, like linear feet of road paved, for example, she doesn't think that's a particularly good metric because each project is different, and year in, year out, like if you do one big resurfacing of an entire large roadway, that's a lot of linear feet repaved, but it's only one road. And in other instances, for example, one of the things that she's really picked up on in the last, 6 to 12 months has been patching. We have more money available. We are able to do sort of rapid response patching work in a way that we weren't able to before. But that doesn't really factor into, like, is that a project? Is that, that doesn't add to your linear feet count. That doesn't show up as like a formal project or anything like that. So she's trying to find a way to demonstrate that DPW is doing more work than it has in the past. But her kind of response is, there's no one good metric that I can point to say, see, we're paving more, the question that you asked is, are we paving more roads? And the answer is yes, but like we're doing more. We are doing more than we used to. But it doesn't translate well into any one particular metric of measurement, and that's where we're having trouble. So I don't know if. Go ahead, John. Sorry.
Yeah, it's just a clarification there, if I may, just briefly. Sorry for interrupting. Isn't linear feet a good metric? I mean, it seems to be, it's very solid, if you will. And if it is, I mean, I know that they're all I understand this. You've explained it very well, the complications, but I think we need to get something on the paper that captures that. So I'm just thinking, what's the easiest solution temporarily until we find a better one? Maybe linear feet is it. Sorry.
Okay. I mean, I will ask her to provide what she can on that front. I just think it's gonna present a more clouded picture, right? Because of all the varieties of project that can go on here. You also want to think about quality of road, right? Like, a simple mill job, taking off the top layer and resurfacing it, as opposed to completely redoing a road. That's the same number of linear feet, but those projects are very different in terms of cost and in terms of durability in the long run. So the other metric that she's thinking about, for example, is the overall pavement quality of the town, measuring how that number has stabilized, gone up, gone down. But even then, that's rocky because, you'll see with Washington Street, when that project is complete, in the next several years, like that is going to cause a significant jump in our pavement quality because it's so much. It's a major arterial roadway that's going to be totally redone, and that's going to cause a big leap in our over the overall health of our roadways. But that doesn't necessarily those are I didn't want to say more volatile, but more chunky metrics, right? They come in fits and starts. So
But sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
yeah.
Could the two be separated? Because when I think of roads, I'm not thinking about the major projects. I'm thinking about what happens when I step outside my house. I'm thinking about sidewalks that have big heaves in them. There's a huge one on Parkman Street right outside my garage. I'm thinking about how carefully I have to cross the street because of potholes. And I'm not the one driving over them who's worried about cracking an axle or whatever happens when you're driving, or what it does to your mileage or whatever else. So I think what I'm looking for is that overall project to make what we see every day getting better, as opposed to, and we know we're redoing Washington Street, and whoever's responsible for Beacon Street and Com Ave, as soon as they fix it, something else breaks. So they get much more traffic, but it's those smaller things, which the PCI, I think that's what she calls it. That's the number I'm looking for. Are the roads that I go on every single day in better shape than they were? Because they used to be. This is my personal lived experience in 26 years of being in Brookline, that it was much easier to get around in Brookline than it was in Newton. And it isn't anymore. I don't know what's happened in Newton so much, but it's not as easy in Brookline anymore.
Yeah, if I may, I'm going to jump in on this. Chaz, in answer to the question that you've raised, I think we absolutely need a metric, and the one that I see followed in other communities, it is linear, or what you cited it, lane miles, or some sort of distance that is measured in terms of the the extent of lanes that have been paved. And yes, of course you're right that there's various gradations. But those can be defined, X miles were, done superficially, X miles were done, in full scale, digging, into the pavement, removing the current surface and replacing it with a brand new surface. But at least we're measuring, and we have a sense of, for the dollars that we're spending to maintain and upgrade the condition of our roads, this is the result we're getting. And then furthermore, given that what drives all of this is that we're being very systematic now and doing these assessments of the overall condition of our roads, then how are we making progress towards the overall condition being better, or are we falling further behind? That seems real basic. And if we don't have that kind of commitment in terms of the budget for road maintenance and repair, it feels very shaky to me. And if we don't then at the end of the year that it has passed, look back and say the commitment we made was X, and here's the report on whether we met or exceeded or didn't meet that commitment, then I just don't know how you continue to budget in a credible way without doing those kinds of measurements. John, you have your hand up. Sorry.
Thank you, John. Yeah, just to reiterate one point and add a point, perhaps. I think we've got to keep it simple. Linear feet is a good measure in my mind, because that's what people experience. They don't understand whether it's 2 inches or scraped or milled or this or that or the other. Obviously, the town does, because it's more expensive to do the job. As far as the user is concerned, whether it's a pedestrian, a bicyclist, or a car driver, or van driver, truck driver, whatever, they only see what has been done, i.e. the number of feet down Peterman Road has been done. At the moment, it's been patched, and that brings me to my second point: potholes. I agree with you that potholes are a different kettle of fish, and in fact, to some extent, at this time of year, is obviously more pressing.
Right.
So I think if we have a pothole count, or potholes done per year, per month, whatever, I think that would be helpful too. The reason why this point is here, by the way, let me just finish up with this, and that is, this is something that everybody knows that you talk with in the town. The first thing they mention, if you've got any concerns about the town, yes, the sidewalks, the roadways, the potholes, it's all, roadway, sidewalk related. Therefore, putting it in and having it in the override where we're asking for more money, people will feel, I believe, that, we're going to get roads done. Well, that's good. Maybe not much good, maybe a few linear feet. But the fact is, if we don't put it in, we make our task harder to sell this uptick in expense to the taxpayer.
And I'm going to jump in again, excuse me, on that. I'll be very brief. I have been nursing this idea in my head that we're going to at some point have to say, actually, there should be more money in the override than is contemplated for roads, because the condition has been really gravely affected by the winter we're experiencing right now. And I'm seeing it all over town. And if ever there was a year that we could justify and furthermore enthusiastically get approval from voters for extra money, a year and a cause, it's for the extraordinary repairs that are going to be required to our roads and sidewalks as a result of this winter we just had. So I think everyone should keep that thought in mind, that whatever the override includes, maybe it should include even more money than we currently have in the budget on the basis of this being an extraordinary year, requiring extraordinary repairs of roads. I'm done. Who's next?
Well, so I would say when I wrote the mild version of it was in mind, keeping in mind the size of the override now. Particularly, I don't think the school side has come down much. And I think Chaz had a number in mind of trying to keep it in line with the last one with inflationary dollars, because I would have put more money in if I thought that would help. I have a concern about where John plunked it, only because the sustainability, which is not my favorite topic, usually because they don't tell me what I'm getting. If I agree to do X, Y, Z, how it improves anything. This does. It says these two positions will save us money in the long run because it'll enable solar, which we already voted for in the full committee. So it seems like we're undercutting ourselves. And then the other piece of it, I don't understand the horticulturists. It seemed to me, Chaz was saying, we'd be bringing something in-house, getting more bang for the buck.
Right.
But the other two positions have been voted by town meeting over the concerns that the town raised, that we can't do this without those positions. And it wasn't just voted, it's a bylaw. So my question is, could we change that? And really, that gets me down to, if we're staying within the 5.31 million, and we agree we'd like to see something in there for roads, where can we take it from? Or what I sort of hinted at in my version, can you reprioritize, because this isn't an operating expense, it is a capital expense. Can you reprioritize the CIP, which seems to have been done to give solar a jump up in the list? And I haven't looked at the CIP. I don't understand what those issues are, but just trying to find a way to do something about roads without adding to an override that everyone I talk to says, I don't care what's in it, I can't afford it. That's what I'm hearing.
So I think we can certainly, I mean, and I'll say this, we do, even when we had to cut the overall contribution to the CIP this year in order to get us close, get that override number down, we still prioritize roadways. That's an A1 priority because we put an additional $2 million into roadways last override, and we are honoring that commitment. We attacked it from both angles. We both put more money in, and we are more efficient with how we spend it. And so, yes, I think the town can certainly continue to maintain that commitment to prioritization of the roadways and sidewalks budgets in the CIP. I think that is, mission critical. People to, I agree with all the comments, which is that it's an immediately noticeable thing. It has an immediate impact on people's lives. It is a shorthand for, the overall health of the community. Can you get around? Are your roads and sidewalks safe? And that's the case regardless of whether you own a car, regardless of whether you're a biker or take public transit, et cetera. So we do prioritize that. And I think we can certainly make that commitment to continue that prioritization. And to John Vanskoyak's point, do it in a way that from a logical point is about maintaining and improving the roads and trying to avoid the sort of the spiral of what is effectively managed decline, which is what a lot of communities are going through right now. It's not just a Brookline problem. So yes, we can absolutely make that commitment. And I think, maybe it's a discussion we have at the broader committee level, is that there is some disagreement still about whether roadways should specifically be included in the override. If so, where and for how much. I'm happy to try and move some things around. It's tough, it'll be a tough prioritization exercise. But I can do that. I can find money for roads in this, but it won't be a lot of money. And I worry sometimes that not a lot of money is almost more of a problem than none at all, because people will look at that and they'll say, well, how much does that buy you? And the answer is, well, to John Doggett's point, not very much, not very many feet. So, the level of investment that we made last time was $2 million, and that's a huge change in our past policy. I don't have $2 million to give here. If I did, I would put it in there. But in terms of trying to keep the overall number down, I don't have that much to move around. I have a couple $100,000 that I could find.
So Chaz, what I meant by reprioritizing, and as I said, I'm not a CIP person, so it may not be feasible, but I was thinking of not just the money's already committed, but to put more money in by not funding something else that's in that long list of projects. That's what I meant by prioritization. John Vanskoyak and I have a favorite. We don't understand why we keep committing money to the bridle path. I hear people raise questions of us continually about the skating rink, and now they want a new swimming pool. Those kinds of things that are, when we went through this with when COVID came and we had to find money, the advisory committee went through the entire CIP and came up with savings by saying we only want to keep in it those things being funded by outside sources because we get some state money, those things that if we don't do them will cost more in the long run, which is roads. We know that. And then, we saved so much money. We took another sweep and said, and what are the things that the community is going to insist on anyway? And the bridle path at that point was just the beginnings of an idea. And that was one that got kept because, it sounds so good. The question is, what are we actually getting for it? And I don't hear that conversation, but that's what I meant by prioritizing. And I don't know if it's possible. And I don't know, I think the committee needs to decide, what do we want to do about it? Do we want to make our own choice as to what we prioritize? John put a stake in the ground. I sort of weaseled around it, but said we need to look at it. Or do we just throw it out to the larger committee as we don't know how to find the money, but we think it needs to be in an override and see how they respond. I see that as our three choices.
And I apologize.
if if-
I have a 9:30 that I'm a little late for. I'm going to jump off and jump back on, but I will be back. And both Melissa and Charlie are here, as is Lincoln. You can, like John said, you got and Ann, you've got, and Nicole, you've got a whole host
You
of staff
outnumber
here.
us.
Yes.
yeah.
So we'll but I'll be back. Sorry to jump here, but I will as soon as my meeting's over.
Okay. I'm going to ask a question of Melissa in that case, and I probably should have thought of it that way in the first place. So Melissa, if you don't mind, here's the question I was going to ask Chaz, and now I'm going to ask you. I'm aware that $1 million was committed by the town to the Bridle Path project, and I promise not to get permanently off track here. But my question is, has all of that been spent? Is there money being held? I'm assuming there's money being held in reserve, because frankly, I can't imagine that there was $1 million worth of work that has resulted so far on the town side towards the next phase of the planning of this Bridle Path project. And if not, and if we're holding money back, wouldn't there be at least the possibility of reconsidering whether we really want to go forward with that project and thereby saving, I don't know, $500,000 we haven't spent yet or more? So is there a number we can talk about here?
I think we'd have to talk to DPW about where they are with, what they've spent so far on the project. So that's a question for DPW.
Okay, fair point. How do I, do we have anyone from DPW here? I don't think we do.
No, we just have town administrators. Charlie, do you
Okay.
know? I don't think we have.
I don't have that information for you.
Yeah.
Sorry, Janet.
You seem to know everything, though.
I think that's a good piece of information to have. I mean, if there's money there, then either we save it or we could redirect it. But I mean,
So,
it seems to me we have a big dig problem. That is, when you got the big dig, it basically crowded out all the other projects around town for transportation and other things. So I worry that the Bridle Path and the Washington Street are doing the same thing to us here.
Yes, and I, John, thank you for saying that, because sometimes I think I'm the only one who worries about that. But we have seen in Greater Boston, a pretty interesting history of very, very ambitious projects that get launched. Of course, the big dig is the one everyone mentions. Yeah, but we got that done. Eventually that was done. And so even though it multiplied in cost by, I don't know, a factor of 5, 6, 7, 8, or something like that, at least it got done. But then there's projects that consume an enormous amount of money and planning effort and go nowhere. And we've got one, right now that's ongoing in terms of the Alston Exchange, part of the Turnpike extension and so on, and what to do about that. And truthfully, I mean, I'm not exaggerating that millions of dollars have been spent and then plans have been just abandoned. And I don't want Brookline to be in that position. So that's the only reason I keep coming back to this Bridle Path question. And by the way, it occurred to me during meetings of the dealing with the whole issue of the MBTA's, disability access project, that the one thing that the MBTA kept saying they would defer to absolutely is they weren't going to make any changes that would get in the way of the Bridle Path project. And I kept thinking to myself, how do they know where the Bridle Path is going to go when I don't know? I mean, I haven't seen anything shown to the people of Brookline that tells them exactly where the Bridle Path is going to go. But somehow the MBTA seems to know, and they have no hesitation to, have to remove parking spaces, and it's the proper thing to do for disability access if you have to do it. But they have no hesitation to remove parking spaces. They have no hesitation to take away trees. but they've been deferring over and over and over again to this future bridle path, which I don't even know if it's ever going to happen. Anyway, end
I
of speech.
think that's their politicking. That's the issue. You know, it's like mom and apple pie. We have to be for it. And everybody seems to want to be for it, except for the people like you and me. I don't know where John D stands on this, but that say, of what use will it be and who's going to actually use it? I certainly won't walk on a path with scooters and e-bikes. So,
So,
but
you
to
know,
get back,
and I, as chair, I feel obligated to try to sort of bring this, refocus us on what we've got to get done in the next, let's say, 20 minutes or maybe at the most next half hour. We're under this compulsion, in my mind, to move forward, even if we are not 100% satisfied with every word of our draft document. And I know that there was some emails that went back and forth earlier this week in terms of the schedule for the committee as a whole and the need for that committee to have in hand the work product of the town subcommittee and then the work product of the school committee subcommittee, and then move forward as a committee of the whole to get a final report done. So what I'm proposing that we do at this meeting, obviously with the consent of those who are here from the subcommittee, is find a way of forwarding to the committee as a whole, our work to date, on the understanding that those of us who will be participating in the work of the committee as a whole can, bring to the discussion any issues that were not 100% resolved during the period of our subcommittee's existence as a subcommittee. And when I say all this, I say it in recognition that we have a substantial work product of 61 pages. And I have found very little fault with it. I do recognize there's a section which, was largely the result of the work John did in the past week that we haven't really had time to go through and, figure out on the part of myself and Janet, what do we think of this particular section? So, maybe we approve the report and hold back on comment on that section for now.
Which section is that, John?
Conclusions and recommendations. I'm thinking that's your work, but maybe I'm wrong.
it was mine as John amended, and the place that we diverged is on what to do about roads. So I would suggest we move, if we agree, the 5.31 million as proposed by the town administrator so far, but that we are still wrestling with the idea of how to get money into the proposal for road work, which we think is extremely important, rather than amending, because I'm not comfortable amending it as John suggested for what I said before, that keeping it within DPW picks up on positions which, at least certainly for sustainability, the whole committee said, oh, but we want to be able to go forward with those things. So I don't know, because it comes down to basically me and John. So I'll throw it open to John. Do you feel comfortable with what I said, that we're wrestling over how to amend the ask in order to have some commitment for further road work? And the three ways we're thinking about is either to increase the amount of the ask, to swap out some things within the ask, or to see if the town can reprioritize projects currently in the CIP to put more money into roads that way. Because that's where we are, and then we can move forward.
Then I would propose, I am uncomfortable with that. The reason is it's a negotiation here, and we're sort of giving away by passing this forward, saying we could come back and change it. or we will come back and change. It's a bit unsatisfactory, frankly. Well, I think what might be possible is just take it out altogether, and it's to TBD, which basically does force the town and ourselves to reconsider it, and the solution, which we don't currently have in front of us. If I'm assuming that you don't accept my solution, and put it that way. So we just reduce it, and but say this is an item to be resolved, and when we do that, it'll be complete. So
I'm sorry, John, I'm not sure I follow you. You mean
well, we could do one of two.
no
Sorry,
recommendations at all? Is that what you're saying? No conclusion?
no, not at all.
Oh, okay, that's what I'm trying to understand.
I'm saying take out the contentious one, either remove it entirely and add it back in when we've agreed it. So that, or it depends upon how many other changes are going to take place. If we're just talking the 650,000, then that's easy to do. But if it's more pervasive than that, that Chaz comes up with a different idea of how to do this, that, and the other, then that may not be so simple. But what I would like to have is that hanging, that we are compelling ourselves and the town to solve the problem. And so therefore either we take it out, we could reduce it we could just say TBD, anything you like, to show that we need to come back and address that issue.
So
Just for
Because I'm worried
purpose of-
everything's going to get lost in the shuffle.
yeah,
For
I'm
purpose of
just still,
clarification, Janet and John, excuse me a second. There's a lot of stuff that's in red and a lot of stuff that's in blue. Could someone just clarify for me? What is the difference between the red and the blue? And can we assume that stuff that is crossed out, that, there's no disagreement on the crossouts?
I
so
think, John, if I may, I think blue is me and red
red
is
is me.
Janet.
right.
Yeah.
So to answer your question on that one,
So the thing I'm still not clear about, John, is what you're saying to take out.
well, there's a line item somewhere in the,
There's a
they-
line item in the town's proposal and Chaz's proposal for $625,000 for DPW with prescribed uses. Are you suggesting we remove that? Because that last chart that I put in was basically to try to summarize why everything that's there is there, what the impact of those lines are. So I'm not comfortable taking out that particular line if the TBD is where we want to do it with more input from Chaz. That's why I suggested, are we at least agreeing that we want 5.31? Are we considering increasing that amount in order to accommodate roads? That's what I'm not clear on, is exactly what we're saying. And
I think you're right, Janet. I think that I took the assumption that to keep life simple, or 625 is what it is.
yeah,
So I got it up in front of me now. I mean, we can change that to anything we want, but I wanted to keep within the 5.3
right.
number, kind of but there's one solution is just to increase that number. And Chaz was, I think, going to get back to us on what his thoughts were here, which he hasn't yet formulated, I think, in terms of what other changes that might, if he had something in for roads, what does he take off? What does he, he's got to come
Right.
to
So
conclusion on that.
So basically what I'm saying is leave it as is and change, we're agreeing 5.31. This is the town administrator's proposal and the impact of each of those lines. We are wrestling with how to do something about roads and waiting for him to come back to us with where he would make adjustments, because I'm just uncomfortable with what you chose. I agree with you. I looked at it myself. You weren't here last week. I asked about the amorphous 1.2 million for continuity. He said those are positions. And that he doesn't have to cut with an override. It goes back to what you would lose with an override. And I'm more comfortable saying we agree the amount if we do. We have this open question that we would like resolved, but we need more information from Chaz as to where he would suggest taking it from.
Okay.
And
Sorry.
just reworking the conclusion for that. So basically leave the 5.3, that chart as I put it in, change the discussion about roads to say, we are concerned that it's not there. We've asked the town administrator for his thoughts on how to put something in. We are agreed or not about the bottom line, because I feel uncomfortable raising it. Don't know how you feel.
Okay. Well, I'm reluctant to agree. In fact, I would not agree with the table as is currently written before I changed it, i.e. it had in the sustainability, whatever. I would be agreeable to either blanking that out and just putting DPW TBD 625 so that we then will fill that in. We could reduce that 625 to 0, thus the 5.3 would diminish because we don't know what we're going to add back yet, and there may be other things. And so this is kind of a little bit in flux, and I'd like to indicate that and really acknowledge that it's in flux so that we do address it. I'm very worried with the time constraints and the shuffling that's going to go on other areas of the report, that this gets somehow forgotten. So I want to ensure that it doesn't. And there are many ways of doing that, but I would suggest that maybe we just just take that DPW line item. And since it is roads we're talking about, that is in the DPW bailiwick, then I would say it currently says DPW roadways and sidewalk improvements 625. We could just put TBD 625.
Yeah, that's fine. I would also leave it not as DPW because Chaz may have some other place he wants to take it from. I just don't want to make a decision before I hear that back from him. I agree with your direction. I think right now we're trying to figure out the best way to put it in. And also the amount to put in. That's my only concern about what you've done, is that I don't want to hear back from the others. We have to have these two positions. We have to have this, and then it's foreclosed. So I don't know a way.
Well, I mean, we can always reconsider, but I'm trying to, ensure that this doesn't get forgotten. So, any way in which that is accomplished is fine. And whatever is the best way sort of strategically to get the document completed and voted on. So, yeah. I mean, the simplest way is to do the DPW. I think there's only one entry for DPW. Yeah. The rest is fire, police, COA, building, IT clerk. Yeah. I still think the DPW is, I would just, personally, I think the simplest, whether you maybe don't agree, but is just put to be determined as to what that 625 is going to go towards. And if it comes up that Chaz has got a more complicated formula of upping this and downing that because he can do that, then that might be may well be a much better solution than what we have here. So, but at least we will have addressed it. We'll plug in the new table. And the only thing that it would affect in the write-up, I agree with you, your write-up is all written around that, is that there is a DPW piece, which if I can just pull it up here, if you just bear with me, I'm trying to find it. ARPA funding and loan receipts. I've lost it now. But basically we could either leave the well, maybe we should just remove the DPW paragraph and just put TBD in there as well. Which
paragraph, John? In the description
in the discussion? I'm trying to find it. Excuse me. Let me just see if I can find out.
Yeah, because there's two sections the way I wrote it. One says this is what is in there. And then down below in the conclusions and recommendations is the chart that says the impact.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
my concern is removing it altogether means we've made a decision on that. That's which is why I phrased it the way I did, is this is the impact, but we have this other big thing. So I don't know if including that other big thing with the TBD in looking for how to put this in makes me feel more comfortable than saying our decision is to reassign the DPW numbers because it's all within the DPW, because they're really a super department. It's like saying it's all within the schools. There's so many different pieces of it. So I think we're headed in the same direction. We're just not sure how to get there.
I mean, the alternative is just to wait until we get the revised table, and then here it is. I got the table. Okay, override structure. Don't see the write-up of it. You said the write-up of that is in. Do you have a page number, Janet? You could refer me to.
I don't have the
Right,
report.
21. I think we're talking about 21.
21.
Yeah.
I only got to 19. Sorry, I realize I'm looking at my clean versions.
Yeah, that's why I had them post the dirty version so that we could see the whole.
Okay, well, let me find that one.
Yeah. I'm looking at the dirty version. Yeah.
Here it is. Here it is. No, that's not it. It's my table. Hold on a second. Let me just bear with me. Apologize for this. The dirty version is somewhere here. Here it is.
Link to the agenda, John.
Yeah, so I try to get to.
I was just going to say, if you have the agenda in front of you.
I do.
If Nicole is there, if she can just do the link, put it on screen.
What date is it? March the 3rd, 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Here we go. So I've just coming off my little technical problems here. Okay, I've got it coming up. Okay, draft override proposal, town draft report, JD. You're talking about draft override proposal, is that it?
Yeah. And at the bottom of page 21, there's language that I'm assuming you added in blue.
Not it.
And it pertains specifically to the $625,000 for DPW.
Okay. Yes, it's the red line version. Okay, great. Let's have a look. And it's on page 21.
It starts at the bottom of page 21 and goes to page 22.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, because I've got it in row is, so that's right. Because it's in blue there. That's me being added.
Yeah.
Whatever. Okay. So all we need to put in there is to be determined.
Yeah, we would put in to be determined there, and then in the table of conclusions and recommendations,
We would put in TBD, right?
TBD, and then for the benefit of our staff who need to be this needs to be very clear where they're concerned. This dirty version, if we vote to forward this to the committee as a whole right now, correct me if I'm wrong, that assumes that anything that is either in black, blue, or red, which is crossed out, is crossed out. I'm not sure what it means. What is the significance of certain parts of it that are in blue but underlined in red? What is that all about?
Can you point me to a page?
Well, right underneath in the conclusions and recommendations table. If you go
I see what you mean.
immediately below DPW, there's a section in blue.
Yes, I see that.
Is that underlining or is that cross out?
I think
It's hard to tell because
I don't know what
it underlines what you write as it puts it in color. So it's hard at some point to see the difference between what's been struck out, which has lines through it, and all the lines under it. I think that sending that version to the full committee would be confusing.
Janet, is that an Excel spreadsheet? It seems to be different in terms of when I was changing it. It was going mad. It was going all kinds of crazy things.
It's not Excel. I actually built it in as a table.
Ah, it's a table.
So that's, I just thought, why am I going into Excel? I'm not really doing any computations. Can I do a table? Because my fallback has always been Excel. So it's in there as a table.
Janet, do we have a clean version of the table?
Well, when I sent it, it was, if you took what I sent to the committee on Saturday and accepted everything, it would be a clean version of the table. If you took John's version and accepted his changes, I believe in your, I didn't go through the one with the changes, but I think it would be clean there as to what you were accepting.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I sent out the clean version. I'm pretty sure the clean version is clean.
Right.
So it resolves that the what it looks really peculiar, which is a strikeout number.
John, when did you send that out?
Sunday. I read it Monday, so I was looking at it Monday morning. But the concern I have about sending only the clean version is the TBDs will be missed, and this is what we voted to forward. So again, I'm more comfortable saying this is the town's proposal, changing where we vote on the bottom line and say we are still trying to determine the composition of the ask, that we have major concerns about nothing being in there for roads. We're not sure how to amend that if we're in agreement that we don't want to raise the 5.3.
John, is it possible that what you sent out on Sunday, you didn't send to me?
Went to all of us.
It went to all of you.
At my government address or my?
No, your personal address, I think. Let me just check.
Oh, okay. Well, that saves me some trouble here.
I think.
Yeah, no, I could not find it in my government.
Let me look at sent. As what date was Sunday? Sunday was the
first. I think it was Sunday because I think I looked at it Monday morning. Yesterday was Monday.
Yes, I got John Van Skoyok as let me see what I put.
I know I sent mine to all of you Saturday afternoon because John kept plaguing me. When will we see it? When will we see it? I said, I'm writing it now. What can I do?
Yeah, mine. Yes, I've just edited. I'm reading it. I said I've include both the red line draft of Janet's document, a clean version, and the executive summary are attached. I think, John, I'm trying to see where that went to. It says, yes, it's jvanskoyok0@gmail.com.
Yeah, okay, I've got it now. All right, so it's really important right now that one of us send that to Nicole right now, and that it be attached to this agenda as a clean version of the report.
I just forward this to Nicole. That's the easiest way to do it.
Okay, and it's the one labeled Town Draft Report, March 1st?
It's labeled Executive Summary Draft.
No, that's just the executive summary.
Yeah, that's just the executive summary.
No. The email is entitled Executive Summary Draft, but the three documents are attached. There are three documents: so Town Draft, JD Town Draft Report, Summary Working Doc Input, which is I separated it out, and the Executive Summary.
Okay, so Nicole, if you don't mind, I think we best attach all three of those
to today's agenda.
Yeah, I've got.
Yes,
Nicole.
Please. Yeah.
I'll send it to Nicole. Here we go. I've just sent it.
So two of them were attached because I sent them to her yesterday.
Yeah, there are three items there. JD, let me just see how that gets resolved. JD, summary working document. I think it's the summary working document.
Yeah, that's the, I think so.
Yeah, that's that. Now I want to see how the table looks after all those edits that weren't successful or were successful. Oh, here it is. Oh yeah, it cleans up fine. It looks really weird. I agree with you, John. It's a mess. However, when you do take out, accept all the changes,
It
looks
looks
fine.
pretty, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So may I make a proposal, and hopefully this will move things along in a helpful way. I'm not trying to
no,
I'm
I,
not trying to get us into any trouble here with our votes. However, I really do want to stay focused on presenting something as a result of this meeting for consideration by the committee as a whole. So I see a 61-page document that Nicole has just attached that is the clean version of the draft. And then there is, and by the way, for those from the public, we should make clear that much of those 61 pages is town staff addendums that I don't think we have any quarrel with the work that has been done by town staff to study to study some of these budget issues. And I think we are wholeheartedly in agreement that this is very good work that deserves to be in our report. But the main work of this committee is reflected in the body of the report that precedes the addendums. And that's why we're focused on that discussion right now. And so there's the 61-page complete clean report. There is then the document called Summary Working Document having to do with the recurring budget gap. And then there is the executive summary as drafted by John. And my suggestion will be that we take the the proposal that I offered that's also attached to the agenda, having to do with a resolution to be voted on by this committee, keeping in mind there's just 3 of us out of 5 here, but I think we can move things forward. And that we vote on the resolution, okay, which I'm just going to read part of it aloud so that people will understand why I'm approaching it this way. It begins, be it resolved that the most recent draft of the town subcommittee report, and I think we should state explicitly the 3 documents we're talking about here, prepared by Janet Gelbart and Jesse Hefter and John Doggett, be accepted as complete and accurate description of factors leading to shortfalls of revenue sufficient to fund ongoing operations and capital needs of town departments. And furthermore, as regards the town budget, that the expenditures and revenues subcommittee request staff to prepare for further review an override question for the May 26th ballot that meets the following criteria. And then I go into a rubric for how to frame whatever the end result of our work is in terms of the net impact on how much it will result in an overall increase in taxes in any given year, in the year of the override, but also in the out years, the years 2 and year 3. I think that we're not ready for anything other than this first bullet point in my draft of a resolution. So what do people think about handling it that way? That we just take the first bullet point and say these 3 documents represent a complete and accurate description of factors contributing to shortfalls of revenues sufficient to fund ongoing operations and capital needs of town departments. I'm going to add to that language and a recommended override amount. And I'm going to add to that language that with the exception of the section related to the DPW part of a recommended override. What do you think of that?
so my question to John would be, if you're fixed on it being DPW, because my focus would be to say, we're discussing a way to include roads, but my problem with how John phrased it is he picked a particular place. So if you did it because it's easy, it's all DPW, I would just rather leave it as this is what we're still discussing. And my question to us is, are we agreed on the 5.31? Because then we could put that in your resolution and highlight what we're still discussing is how within that parameters to fund some additional amount of money toward roads.
John, I think just a comment, if I may, looking at your resolution, the word complete is problematic because it's not complete. So I think that accurate may be true. I think as accurate as we could possibly be with these things. I think, I don't know how to phrase it, or maybe you'd like to phrase it to sort of, because basically, however we depict it in the main document, at the moment it's a red line document, which if you just release, it has the sidewalks in. But so if we want to change that, then we need to modify that document to either TBD or whatever. Janet is concerned about just the DPW being changed. I don't know whether Chaz can give us any. Is he in the meetings? No, he's gone for the moment.
Come back. So
I mean, he has some ideas clearly, but he hasn't. He's obviously maybe he has to do more work on them. I'm just wondering, we need a language fix here to get us over the time and the synchronization problem of getting information.
So basically what I'm proposing in the resolution is that we include the bottom line and say that the differences in the red line is the topic we're still discussing, which is how to include some amount for road work and repair. And we're waiting for discussion with Chaz as to where he would feel comfortable taking some number from. Because I'm uncomfortable making that decision for him. Especially since the DPW stuff seems to have town meeting support and support of the full committee in terms of sustainability. That's the whole concern that I have. So basically, say we're agreed on 5.31 million. We are discussing still, as you can tell from the red and blue, very patriotic document. What we're discussing is how to include some number that goes toward road work. Does that work for you?
Except I'm going to strongly urge us to stick to the clean versions of the three documents and figure out how to and I think it actually is doable. If we stick to what is now attached to this agenda as three documents, very clean documents, one labeled JD Town Draft Report, one labeled Summary Working Document, one labeled Executive Summary, clean version of those three documents, and then say, resolved by the members of the town subcommittee, that those three documents be forwarded to the committee as a whole, with the approval of the town subcommittee, with the exception that language in the documents pertaining to the needs of the DPW and the recommended funding for the DPW to be included in any override be determined subsequent to the approval of the other aspects of these three reports, and then reported to the committee as a whole as an addendum to these three reports.
John, if you take the red and blue one and accept everything and make it clean, you wind up with John's version. So I just want to make
Yeah,
that,
I was just about to point that out. Thank you, Janet.
make that clear.
Yeah, we do need to change it.
And so that's why when what I forwarded to Nicole for this meeting was the red and blue, so you could see the two versions. And I really want to highlight that we haven't landed on DPW as the place to do it, but that we are wrestling with how to include money for roads without increasing the requested ask from the town. Is that acceptable to you, John, as what we're trying to do here?
Well,
I don't-
not if it means passing. Oh, I thought you meant me. Go ahead, John.
well, yeah.
I did mean JD, but go ahead, John.
Oh, okay. Well, then let me give you my answer. I just don't think we can expect people to understand what we're voting on if we start with the red and blue revised document. It's just we can't even tell whether underlinings are crossouts or crossouts are underlinings.
Okay,
So if we
Yeah,
stick
but
to
John, if
yeah.
I may, if you
Yeah.
do a clean version of the document that I got up, which is on the agendas and minutes, Town Draft Report 3126 JD, you will get my version.
yeah, so just take John's version, eliminate the red and blue, because if you try to accept it all, that's what you'll get. But I think that it needs,
Yeah, but I don't understand how that's different from what I am proposing.
what we're saying is don't send 3 documents, because you're either going to send the red and blue that can't be read, or you're going to wind up with 2 versions that are the same.
The idea, but let me just back up a second. I sent 3 documents. I sent you the combined red and blue. I thought it was very confusing, as we found out. So, and
Right.
John, you found some more places. But the working document is that subset of the main document, which includes none of the appendices and none of the beginning and so on. So it's just so it was clear. It's basically, I've accepted all the changes in that one, so you can see them more clearly. And the other one is the executive summary, which was asked for to be separate, and it is. That's where it is. So basically, if you accept all the changes that have been made to the document that has been posted here, you get my document.
Right,
Yeah,
that's all.
I know. And
So
that's why I'm calling
So
for a
if you're
vote.
happy with that, then I'm happy with that, but I don't think Janet is.
Well,
I
I'm happy. I'm happy with it, with one important exception, actually, no, I was going to say it also includes the addenda, so that's fine too. Yeah. The document labeled JD Town Draft Report is a 60-page document, and it includes the addenda. Us and then the summary working document is a 19-page document. And then the executive summary is a 3-page document.
so
5,
John,
I think, but certainly that's okay.
So John, I am happy to go with the clean version as long as it's clear in the resolution that what we're discussing is the DPW. So if it's possible to put in a TBD or something, I'm not comfortable voting for that document without the further discussion. So as long as it's clear in the resolution, we're talking 5.31 million, that what we're still trying to figure out is how to get roads in. And so that's a piece. Your town working thing, I don't remember, John, does it say draft on it? Did you send it as
There's Town Draft Report 3-1.
but on the individual pages, is it marked as draft?
Yes.
Okay, good. Then to say that the area that we're working on in the draft is how to include monies for roads. The draft picked a place, but we're still talking about it. That's the only, as long as that's clear in your resolution. If you've got revised words.
Well, yeah, I'm going to rely on the transcript from this to get these words, exactly as I state them, and I'm going to try to state them in a way that doesn't need to be. I don't need to start over again. So I'm going to try to keep. I'm going to try to keep this really simple, and then and it's one paragraph. And so it is resolved by vote of the members of the town subcommittee that we accept for forwarding to the committee as a whole 3 documents that were presented to us at this meeting. And the first is the so-called JD Town Draft Report dated March 1st. The second is the summary working document. It just says summary working doc input. And the third is the executive summary number 1 doc. Those 3 documents be accepted by this town committee and forwarded to the committee as a whole on the understanding that the portions of those 3 reports relating to the Department of Public Works are still under discussion, and there will be a further report prepared and delivered to the committee as a whole.
That sounds good.
And you're still going to send 3, and so you're going to send the executive summary, the clean document, and the one that everybody's going to have trouble reading?
No, none of these. I'm looking at these 3, and there's no trouble reading any of them, as far as I can tell.
I'm confused because one of those documents is full of the red and the blue crossouts. So what I'm suggesting is, for ease of reading, as long as it's clear what we're still discussing, that we do the executive summary and I forget the titles, John, but the one that's clean, that doesn't have the crossouts.
I
Yeah,
should
Janet,
say clean. It's a
Janet,
subset.
I owe you an apology on that. You know, when I heard clean, I thought it meant, you know, that it's it's cleaner than what we were dealing with before. But yes, it does have red and blue crossouts, but they're not sort of in the form that we were looking at in the I'll call it the dirty document. In other words, confusing as to what's an underline, and somehow the formatting came out much better in John's draft.
John sent 3 things.
Yeah.
None of us disagree on the executive summary.
Yeah.
Was his edits to what I sent out on Saturday, and that's full of the red and the blue. And the third was he took that red and blue patriotic document and said, I accept all changes. So you read everything without anything red and blue. So I'm confused as to what you're looking at that has red and blue that isn't confusing. So I would suggest if we don't want to confuse them, we take the final version of the draft, the clean.
Yes, you're right, Janet.
Version, no red and blue.
Except
the executive summary. So that's 2 documents with your resolution that makes clear we are discussing the change that's been made to DPW. And I would add the reason why is because we're trying to figure out how to get some roadway money into it. Only because
Janet, just help me with that clean version of the draft. Is that one of the documents attached to this meeting's agenda?
It's the one that John just sent.
Let me go back to the beginning. The town draft report contains all of the changes that I made to Janet's document, which was a red line version of the draft report, so that we could see what had been changed over time by Janet. Yeah. I made some changes which are in blue. They're my changes. So the report as distributed is the red and blue is all the changes that both of us made. If you take that document, accept all changes, you'll get a clean document, and it will have in it the DPW is roadways and sidewalks for 625.
Okay, so you and Janet seem to be in agreement that that's the primary document as long as it's made clean.
Yes, because and I might have added some confusion, to which I apologize. I tried to take a subset of the main report because it's very long, and the appendices I wasn't interested in, to make a clean copy so you can see a clean discussion of the meat of the report, if you will. So rather than send out a copy of the report that has all the changes, a clean version, because this committee, I thought, wanted to see where the changes have been made and so on. So
Yes, yes. No, I appreciate that, John, and thank you very much for the further explanation. And
So,
I then would suggest that the only change that needs to be made, and I'll start over again with the resolution, is the first document, the 61-page document that is labeled JD Town Draft Report, as 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 made clean, you know, from the version that was delivered on March 1st.
yes.
Okay.
if John says yes, I'll agree with him. I've lost track of which version. What we're trying to do is say they need the executive summary and they need a document that they can understand.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
long as they
Yeah.
understand that there's a
Yeah.
major portion we're still discussing, waiting
Yeah.
for input
I mean,
from.
who's
All right,
doing the transmittal of this to the?
I
Is it
would
you,
assume
John?
it's chair.
If you're going to
Uh,
transmit the document, John, which I hope you
oh.
are, then all you have to do is accept all changes to the town draft report, and then it becomes whatever
Yeah.
you want to call it, the draft report.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So I'm going to start over, and hopefully this version of the resolution will meet with everyone's satisfaction. Um, be it resolved that the members of the town subcommittee of the Expenses and Revenues Study Committee forward to the Expenses and Revenues Study Committee the document as on the agenda of the March 3rd meeting of the subcommittee, the document labeled JD Town Draft Report 3/1/26 as rendered clean, given that it contains a fair number of edits. And furthermore, that we forward to the committee as a whole the document labeled Executive Summary 1, and on the understanding that the portions of those two documents relating to the Department of Public Works be held for further consideration and with a recommendation to be delivered at the earliest possible date subsequent to today to the committee as a whole.
So you're not including an amount?
Well, the documents include an amount.
They do.
Okay. I just was curious to the resolution because we haven't voted the documents. I'm questioning if we want to vote an amount today as well. Or not.
Challenge, Janet, the challenge with that is if Chaz decides to raise the amount even slightly, then
Okay. Got it.
yeah, okay.
Got it.
All right.
The only other question that I have is, in his version, John took out any recommendation. I didn't put one in. I just indicated there needed to be on whether we wanted a lump sum or not. So as it now reads, it says, this is how much it would be as a lump sum. This is how much it would be in terms of percentage increase if it were stretched over 3 years. We don't have time to talk about that now. Just pointing out that people might raise it when they read it. What are you saying? You've told us two things. So you don't have to change anything, John. I just wanted to point out that that's another thing we have to discuss.
Okay, so the minutes of this meeting will reflect that comment
Fine.
by Janet. And we haven't yet taken the vote. John Doggett?
Hold on, I have one. Sorry to make life a little bit more complicated. Right at the beginning, we talked about the executive summary, which we've not really gone through. But on the other hand, I take it there was no real discussion needed about that. but with the exception of the point raised right at the beginning about the 1.5%, and I suggested that that bullet be eliminated. I couldn't think of a way of putting that in or changing it at this point, other than just getting rid of it, as it's confusing, I think, and misleading to some extent. So, and I think, Janet, you agree with that? And
I
so
agree with that.
I would
I don't know
accept
how I got there to begin with.
what I would propose is that we accept, or the vote accepts the executive summary minus that third bullet in 1.0 with the structural budget problem.
Okay. Nicole, can you just weigh in here and let me know that you have, you're still with us?
I am here.
All right, thank you. Is it possible at this point to read back from the live transcript what I previously just said?
I'm not finding a live transcript at the moment.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm not sure we
Um,
can do that, John. Sorry.
yeah.
Did we ever get to the meetings recorded and the AI thing is on? Now it says it's on.
I'm not even going to ask.
You're right.
Well, John, to
No,
make,
but Janet, if you don't mind, I do really want to see if we can get this done. So Janet, you heard, and John, you heard my wording.
yes,
And we were about to take a vote. I propose that since we, well, if you wish me to, I will start over and recognize what you just asked for in my wording. Do you wish me to start over?
I'm a little confused.
Well, we could take a vote on what I just read, what I just said, okay, as worded as I said it. And then we could take a vote, a further vote to revise the documents approved in the prior vote by taking out the third bullet point on page.
Shouldn't we do that first?
Well, that's what I'm asking you. Do you want me to just start over having done that?
No, I think if we just take a motion, an amendment motion,
Okay, I got you.
and
Okay,
just remove
all
that
right.
sentence, and then your language stands.
Yes, okay. So we haven't yet taken a vote on the three documents. We will instead start with a vote to remove from the document labeled Executive Summary 1, the third bullet point labeled Health Insurance.
no,
No,
Oh, I thought that's what you're asking.
no. It reads, if you're it's in 1.0 paragraph 1, the structured budget program, budget problem, excuse me, and it's on bullet number 3 says, after adjusting for inflation, the town's available budget has grown only by about 1.5% per year over 25 years.
So I must be confused as to which document we're dealing with here.
the
Executive
executive,
summary.
Oh, okay, but it's on page 2? What page of the executive
It's
summary?
on page, I don't have the page numbered. It's on page 1, actually.
And it says what?
After adjusting for inflation, the town's available budget has grown only by about 1.5% per year over 25 years. Have you got it?
No, that's not what I'm looking at.
may I make a suggestion that we're accepting that amendment and that when we get off the phone, John go in, make the change and send you that document with the amendment in it?
I've already
Well,
made.
yeah, but I'm thinking of whoever needs to transcribe what the result of our vote was for others to to deal with. And I can't understand why we have two different versions of what John is asking us to do. I'm looking at an executive summary that has, it starts, there's within it,
minute.
several bullet points on page one labeled key cost drivers. And then the first one is employee compensation. Second one is
So yeah,
fire.
I apologize. I've got, I'm reading from a different document and that's my fault. I've confused you, John. You've got
Okay.
every right to be confused. I apologize for that. Let me just see if I can find it. I'm sure it's there somewhere, but maybe it isn't.
I'm not sure if it's in the executive summary. I am sure that it's in the main document.
Okay, I think perhaps we're homing in on a solution here.
You're right. I've got several. The reason that I got several different executive summaries.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
Okay, so
And I combine.
at some
Yes.
place in the main document, there is a bullet point.
Let me find it. Let me just do a quick search in the main document.
John, can I suggest that we just take a vote that we agree to amend, to remove wherever it occurs references to the 1.5% inflation over 25 years? Because John and I agree we don't want it in there. He
Yeah,
remembers.
yeah, no, I'm with you, Janet. I understand that. I'm just, again, I'm thinking in terms of the person who's going to transcribe this and you know, turn our vote into a document. And I don't want them to have to go on a, you know, sort of a fishing expedition. What were they talking about?
So
That's all.
that's why I'm suggesting we vote that we've amended it, that John go through where he thinks it is, I can go through where I think it is, and clean them up before it gets transmitted to the full committee. Or we could just transmit it as is, saying we voted to delete those references.
Yeah, I think we might have to do it your way because it's proving very difficult for me to find what John was referring to.
Right, so we voted that the documents will be amended to remove the reference to, John, if you have the exact words, 1.5% inflation of the town budget per year over 25 years, whatever it is,
I've located it. It's on page 5
of,
of the draft, the JD Town draft report 3.6. 3/1/26. It's the last sentence on page 5 of the first paragraph. No, sorry, it's it says recurring budget gap, and there's a second paragraph, and the last sentence of that paragraph is the offending sentence.
Ah, all right, all right. Okay, all right. So we're first going to take a vote referring to page 5 of the document labeled JD Town Draft Report, March 1st, 26. And the vote is to, on page 5 of that report, delete the sentence. John, go ahead and read it to us.
Is over the last 25 years, the dollar value of the town budget available for appropriation has grown at just over 4% in nominal terms and just over 1.5% adjusted for inflation.
Okay, so we delete that sentence. Okay, that's our first vote. Janet,
aye.
John,
Aye.
and myself,
You
aye.
don't have a vote, John, you are excluded from voting.
Well, the good news is
You would have
two-
voted
two-
aye.
two is sufficient, but thank you for that reminder. And now we get back to the 3 documents as revised, and the wording that I had proposed, which I'm not going to go back and try to repeat. And John
Aye.
and Janet,
Aye.
and for the record, I would have voted aye, assuming
I
I
think,
had a
I
vote.
think the request is that you abstain so that you're recorded, but we
Yeah.
recognize you can't vote.
I abstain, and thank you for that. All right. Does anyone have any other business to bring up?
Are you doing the minutes, John?
Sure, I'm happy to do the
I
minutes.
mean, I was taking notes, but I sort of lost it when we were going over the resolutions and all the changes we made as you were trying to state it. So
Yeah.
since you
No,
have it
and-
written
and-
down,
As long as Nicole sends me the really wonderful and useful AI, overviews of our, as we have done in the past, I'll be happy to do the minutes.
and let me know if you need help because sometimes if I just see a word, it triggers me to remember everything that was said. I just can't reproduce your resolution.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, I don't know about the two of you who are also here today, but I feel good that we're helping to move this forward, and I think we have to move this forward at this point. So I think we got done what we needed to get done.
Great.
And with that, I will declare this meeting adjourned.
Fine, and
John.
I'll see you
Thank you,
all
everybody.
in an hour.
Yes, that's right. That's the scary part. That's the really scary part. Okay.
All righty,
right.
thank you.
Thank
Take
you.
care. Bye.
Bye-bye.